The chakra system is simultaneously one of the most widely discussed and studied topics in spirituality, and yet it's also the most confused and distorted. Basically nobody. David Bingham is the only teacher I've heard give a very coherent and grounded description of the chakras. And his explanation is pretty brief. So that's my intention in this video, is to go deeper into that and to clear that up a little bit. But so most people, pretty much everyone that's heard of the chakras, they have this idea that the chakras are like this structure that's connected to your physical or etheric body, and they're like these structures that you have to clear out, and they have these colors and these shapes and things tied to them. But all of that is the structures and the shapes and the colors, those are just symbolic representations of the first person experience of what the chakras are. The chakras are not structures and colors. The chakras are frequency layers. The chakras symbolize the various frequency layers present within each of the 5 koshas. And that's the distinction that David Bingham makes really clearly, is that, well, first he talks about the koshas. So the 5 koshas are, well, first it begins with the infinite, unmanifest, just formless being. That's just pure potentiality, just pure consciousness itself. And then from that, from the formless, the 5 layers or 5 dimensions of experience emerge, and they emerge from subtle to gross. So they start with the bliss body, and then it goes to the wisdom body. The wisdom body is just isness, that's effortless being. And then it goes to the mental body, and then the emotional body, and then the physical body. And each of those 5 koshas, they actually have their own set of chakras. And when you think about it like this, it actually makes way more sense. Because, so just to start off with the physical body, the chakras in the physical body, they just correlate to the various organs and glands. So it's at the base of it, you have your sexual organs, and then it flows up to your digestive organs, and then it goes into your lungs and heart and throat, and then your brain and your pituitary and your pineal gland. And you could say on a physical level that your heart is a higher frequency than your colon, and then your third eye or your pituitary gland is a higher frequency than your physical heart. So on a physical level, it literally just correlates to the organs. And then on an emotional level, it's the same thing. This is more sort of the context in which people hear the chakras talked about, is how the colors correlate to the different emotions. So at the base of it, the red chakra, the bottom chakra for the emotional body, would be something like really intense anger, just survival based, boundary setting, anger, aggression. And then it flows upwards, as you get to the heart. That's when you get to personal love. And personal love is different from unified love. Personal love is the love that you would have for a family member or for your spouse or something. But it's not quite unconditional love. Unconditional love is unity love. And then so as you get to the throat chakra in the emotional body, the blue level, that would be the emotion associated with authentic expression and speech and truth. And then as you flow up, each of the different chakra levels, they correlate to the different frequency levels within the emotional body. And that's true for the emotional, or for the mental body as well. So it's the same thing. The chakras for the mental body would be the thought version of those various frequency levels. So the red zone for the mental body would be thoughts to do with extreme anger or aggression or boundary setting or something like that. And then for the heart level, it would be thoughts that are centered around personal love and that kind of thing. And then the blue level would be, the throat level would be thoughts centered around authentic expression and so on. So when you put it in this context, it makes much more sense, because the chakras aren't something that you need to go and listen to frequencies to clear them out, or you need to like have someone like clear out the blockages in your chakra or something. Like, I'm not saying that stuff is bad. Nothing is off limits in unconditional love. But if that stuff is meant to happen for you, you'll just be guided to it by inspiration. You'll just be following what feels intuitively right to you. And then that's when you're guided to the best practices and the best tools for you, which may include listening to certain like chakra frequencies and things. But the key is what it really means to clear out the chakras. Clearing out the chakras is the exact same as the integration or the refinement process of your energy, which happens both pre-self-realization and post-self-realization. Like, you're always integrating your energy. The more free and flowy and refined and less caught up in reactive fear-based energy you are, the more integrated you are. That's the refinement. And so the more integrated and refined you are, the less fear-based blockages you have within your structure, the more your chakras are open. That's what it means for your chakras to be open. And so the way that you clear out blockages in your chakras, you do that automatically by just living from the flowing isness, by just living from the transcendent neutrality, or from effortless impersonal being. Because when you live from that, that's when you're transmuting the energy. That's when you're being the isness, or you're being the transcendent neutrality to the blockages. And that's how you transmute them, because that's the causal level. That's the alchemical agent. It's when you're being the screen, you're just being the isness. And then from the isness is like the opposite of the frozen energy. The frozen energy is stuck in that reactive cycle. But from the isness, you step out of the reactive circle, and then you're able to just flow from creativity. And that's when those blockages unwind and open up and resolve effortlessly. But so if someone says that you have a blockage in your root chakra, that doesn't mean that like all that would mean is that you would probably have usually when people are talking about blockages in the chakras, they're talking about it in relation to the emotional body, because the blockages in the emotional chakras are what flows into blockages in the physical chakras. It's like if you have problems with authentic speech and like authenticity, a lot of the time you may have problems with your throat. You may have like sicknesses with your throat, and like there can be different versions of that with your heart or with your gut or with your any layer of your physical body. But so as emotions are the root of blockages in the physical chakras, mental activity is the root of blockages in the emotional chakra. And so what that means is that if someone told you you have a blockage in your root chakra, that would just mean that you have some mental resistance to anger. That's what that would mean. The first person experience of having a blockage to your root chakra would be mental resistance to anger. It would mean that you have a hard time flowing through the frequency of anger. It would mean that you have a lot of frozen energy or blockages or reactive fear-based energy around the experience of anger. And so that's what it means for the chakra to be blocked. It just means that you have a hard time flowing through that experience. And the same could apply for authenticity or for personal love or for sexual interests. Like, the first person experience, again, of having a blockage in any type of chakra is just the mental resistance that you have to those emotions or to those thoughts too, because you can have mental resistance to thoughts as well. Like, you may have mental resistance to having thoughts about sexuality if you have a blockage in that chakra. But again, you really don't even have to think or talk about the chakras. The chakras are just, it adds like another layer of unnecessary complexity. Like, if you have a blockage in your root chakra, you don't need to listen to videos or anything. I mean, you can do that if it feels inspiring, it can be good. But all you really need to do is start being the isness to anger. That's how you transmute and refine and integrate blockages. And like, that's how you would heal a blockage in the root chakra, is in being able to be with anger from a place of non-resistance, just isness. And if you have a lot of blockages around anger or around a certain emotion, at first it might be quite challenging. Like, it might feel like very rocky and bumpy and very reactive and visceral, like when that emotion comes up. And the frozen energy, the blockages, they're going to perpetually signal to you to stay frozen, to not be the isness, because that's what they do. The frozen energy doesn't understand the isness because it can't see the isness. The frozen energy exists on the level of the mental plane, and the mental plane can't see the transcendent plane. But so all you need to do to clear out that blockage, it's the same as the integration of any other movement of life. It's like, if you have blockages in your root chakra, you don't even need to go looking or digging for it. That will just be automatically guided to you in the forms of whatever challenges that you're having in your life. It's like they say, like, what you resist persists. It's like, if you have resistance around like using anger in a healthy way, in like a smooth and flowing and productive way, like say for boundary setting or something, you're going to keep finding yourself led back to situations which expose that reactivity and expose that problem. You're going to keep having situations where you're being led to transmute that energy and to actually channel anger in a productive and healthy and smooth way. Because that's what it is. Every challenge is an opportunity. It's your subtle energetic patterns being revealed to you on the more gross level so that you can transmute them. And so that's what it's all about. That's what clearing the chakras is about. It's just the integration of that flowing isness, of your ability to flow through all the frequency layers, for all the thoughts and emotions and physical body. You want your entire energetic structure to just be flowy and smooth and gliding. And you don't want to cut yourself off from any of the chakras. Like, some people get caught up in this thing where they think like, oh, I only want to be like the upper chakras. I don't want to be the lower chakras. But that will not work. That is a bad idea. If you start suppressing the lower chakras and trying to cut yourself off from them, you're not going to get rid of them. You're just going to build up a ferocious charge of frozen energy that's just going to get worse and worse until you get diseases or you get poverty or you get relationship problems. Like, it's going to result in suffering in some way. Like, you never want to suppress or block anything. You want your energy to flow through in any movement of life. And that's the key. Like, an enlightened being, a fully liberated and enlightened being, isn't a being that never gets angry. It would be a being that can utilize anger in the most productive and healthy and like smooth and clean way. Like, healthy anger would just be like for boundary setting, or just like some situations do call for like a mild form of aggression or something. But the key is, when you don't have blockages around a certain chakra or around a certain like frequency or emotion or thought process, you can actually channel that emotion in a very pure and clean and healthy and efficient way. It's like when we use anger in a destructive way, that's actually driven by blockages in the chakra. It's like, because the energy isn't flowing, it builds up and then it lashes out in like destructive and distorted and non-productive ways, basically. And that applies not just for anger, that applies for the entire spectrum. That's what liberation is about. And that's what activating the rainbow body is about. Like, people make that more complicated than it is too. Like, activating your rainbow body, or like your full entire thing, it's about having the full chakra scale available to you. It's about being able to flow through all of the emotions, like, and then from there, that's when you can flow through every movement of your life in the highest and most efficient way possible without being frozen or blocked up in anything. It's like, the more liberated you are, again, you can be with any emotion. You can be with anger, you can be with sexual energy. Like, that's the thing too. Like, clearing out your chakras and becoming enlightened, it makes you better at everything. Like, it makes you better at sex. It makes you better at authenticity. It makes you a better family member. It makes you a better speaker and communicator. It makes everything better, because that's the integration of your divine infinite qualities into the relative. It happens through refining and opening up your channels, like your blockages, like the parts of your energetic field which there's resistance to. Because that resistance, it begins on the mental plane. It begins on the subconscious mental programming. And that subconscious programming, the first person experience of subconscious programming is not words, it's mental resistance. It's that resistance that you feel. It's that frozen energy that you would feel around an emotion that you have blockages to. So again, if you have blockages to anger, the subconscious programming or the mental resistance or the frozen energy, it would be that part of you that wants to like clamp down, shut down, succumb to the reactive energy, like to succumb to that primal instinctual urge to like go into the old reactive pattern. But then the option is, the way that you refine that is in not succumbing to that primal instinctual urge. It's in just staying as the isness and just flowing through the energy and being non-resistant even to the resistance. And that's how you effortlessly start to open up and unwind your chakras. And again, you don't even have to know anything about the chakras. Like, you're almost better off not even thinking about it in terms of chakras. Because, that's just an external symbolic projection. Like, and that's fine. Like, it's good. Like, symbols are very powerful. It's the chakra system is a kind of third person interface that gives a broad description of the various frequency levels within each of the koshas. When you understand that, you'll be able to make a lot more sense of the various like ascending qualities and frequencies of the body of wisdom. Because what happens with the body of wisdom is, once you get to that level, to that causal level, the transcendent level, the color scale shifts upwards. So instead of starting with red, at the body of wisdom, it starts with gray. It's just gray. And that grayness, that's neutrality. That's just that transcendent neutrality. That's just the isness of life. It's like when you make that simple, subtle switch to just seeing your entire field of perception as just effortless, impersonal awareness. And then the way that you get to the higher chakras within the body of wisdom is as you live from that isness, and as you're not getting pulled into the more gross, like reactive, like fear-based energies of the lower three chakras, and you're just moving in alignment with, really it starts with just being that isness, being that neutrality. And then as you're just resting as that, and you're just moving through life from that non-reactivity, again, just that transcendent neutrality, that's when effortlessly you start to ascend the chakra layers or the frequency layers of the body of wisdom. And the ascending chakra layers of the body of wisdom are things like inspiration, intuition, synchronicity, precognition, telepathy, divinity, reverence, and like felt loving unity consciousness. And it also, the bliss body starts to pour in as well too. And that enriches and elevates the whole experience too, because you start to just have that causeless peace and joy and bliss, which saturates the whole entire realm of experience. But so, understanding it in this light should really clear things up a lot, because you don't ever need to you really just don't even need to think about the chakras. Like, all you really need to think about is just living your life from flowing isness, from that transcendent neutrality, from that effortless impersonal being. And then by being that transcendent neutrality, that flowing isness, by being that to the challenges of life, and the challenges may include challenging emotions, by being that non-resistance, that isness, that's how you automatically and effortlessly transmute and open up and refine the chakras. And that's how you become more integrated. It's the exact same thing. The more free and flowy and liberated you are, again, you can flow your energy at will through the entire scope of chakras. And yeah, and it has a sort of carryover effect. It's like, again, as you clear out the mental resistance to the thought level, so say you start clearing out resistance to, say you have a huge amount of blockages around like anger and like the emotion of anger and thoughts around anger. Well, at first, you can start to relinquish and integrate and refine that resistance around thoughts of anger. That's a little bit easier because the thoughts are more subtle. And then as you're able to be with angry thoughts from a place of non-resistance, then you can start to also effortlessly be that flowing isness, even to like the emotion of anger, and you can just flow through that energy. And you won't be perfect at first. Like if you have a lot of frozen energy around something, it's like, it may be very like bumpy at first. It's like having frozen energy. It's like being on a roller coaster, which has a bunch of bumps. And the bumps are the frozen energy and the rigidness and the friction that like obstructs and distorts the flow. But the key is the bumps, the frozen energy, it's actually trying to get you to react to the frozen energy in the hopes that you freeze up even more and then you create even more blockages. But again, the way to transmute those blockages is in not reacting to them, not succumbing to that primal instinctual urge to succumb to the frozen energy, to succumb to the reactivity, just being that flowing isness. And that's how that energy starts to smooth out. And then it's like, and that's what, I mean, everyone has experiences with various things. You can imagine this exact process happening with like public speaking. It's like if you have a lot of frozen energy and reactivity and fear around public speaking, the first time you do it, it's going to be very rigid and bumpy and scary and like visceral, and like it's not going to be very smooth and effortless. But the key is, to whatever degree that you can be that flowing isness to that challenging experience and to the challenging emotions that come up without sort of like suppressing and avoiding and resisting the emotions, then the next time you do that experience, the next time you do the public speaking, it'll be that much easier. And then the charge will be even less. And then you do it again and it's even better. And by the 5th or 6th or 7th time, everything is like smooth and gliding and you can just flow your energy right through it. And that's the integration process that happens with our energies. We become progressively more capable of flowing our energy through any frequency, through any experience. And so, yeah, and like, as you do that with anger and you do that on the mental and emotional body, that will carry over to the physical chakra blockages. Like, that's why a lot of the time people will have some sort of emotional release. Like, they stop suppressing some sort of emotion and then the emotion resolves and settles. And then they stop having problems with their gut, or they stop having chronic fatigue, or they stop having heart problems. Like, the physical organ problems are largely tied to the blockages in the emotional chakras, and the blockages in the emotional chakras are tied to the blockages in the mental chakras. And the blockages in the mental chakras is that mental resistance. It's that frozen subconscious energy, that mental resistance around certain scary experiences and challenging emotions. But so yeah, it's really, the chakras are really simple and easy. Like, it's not, you don't even need to think about the colors. You don't need to think about the shapes. You don't need to find someone that's a chakra person to clear them out for you. You just need to live your life from the isness, from effortless impersonal being, from that transcendent neutrality. And life will automatically guide you in the most effective and pure and efficient way possible in how to resolve that. Because it will just present you challenges in the form of whatever is coming up, because that's what the reactive patterns do. There's cycles of reactivity that you keep being led back to. But every time a challenge comes up, every time a reactive pattern comes up, that's your opportunity to disrupt that pattern, to disrupt that signal, to transcend that pattern by stepping out of it altogether. You don't step out of the pattern by battling or pulling on it. That keeps you on it, because that keeps you on the layer of the pattern. It keeps you on the layer of the reactivity. It happens in just being that isness, just not succumbing to the frozen energy, just flowing through the experience. And even if you get pulled into reactivity and fear a little bit, that's totally okay. Like, there's no point in ever reacting to a reaction or resisting a resistance. Even if you start to get pulled into that fear-based energy at any point, it's totally fine. You just catch yourself, and then you just return to that flowing isness. You return to that, and then the infinite being, your infinite being, the screen of awareness, the infinite light of consciousness, which is that isness, just that base primordial substance, that will automatically and effortlessly transmute the energy, because you're just being with it. You're just being the isness, and you're stepping out of that pattern. You're stepping out of that cycle of reactivity, and then all your chakras will open up. Your entire system will begin to flow, and you can command it. You can flow it into any experience, and you'll be able to do it in the most loving and productive and efficient way possible. Because that's the thing. Using the emotions in bad and destructive ways only happens when there's lots of blockages and frozen energy. When your chakras are open and you're flowing through them, you can express the entire range of human emotion, but in the best way possible, in the purest and most enlivened and productive and efficient way possible. And that's your highest purpose. That's the integration. Like, the integration is not in cutting yourself off from any of the chakras, or just like trying to say, like, oh, I'm only in my third eye chakra or something. That would be a very fragmented sort of experience. You don't want to have a fragmented, limited experience. You want your experience to be boundless, unconditional, limitless, because those are the qualities of your infinite nature, and you want to integrate those into the movement of the relative life, so that you can be that flowing isness in every movement of your life. It's just living from the flow state, living from that peak human experience, from your highest, most purest, most empowered potential. That's what opening the chakras is about. And so, yeah, I hope that helps. It's much simpler than people are making it seem. It's really, really all of it, all of the integration and the enlightenment and all of this stuff. It's very simple. And you can start to see how every single teacher is saying the exact same thing. Like, even Nisargadatta, when he says, abide as the I am, that's him telling you how to clear the chakras out in the most efficient way possible. Because the I am is the flowing isness. That's the transcendent neutrality. And so the way that you would clear out blockage in the chakra around anger would be being the I am to the anger, to the frozen energy, to the reactive, like, fear-based pattern, just transcending it by being that isness and not trying to change the reactive pattern, not resisting the resistance, just allowing it all to be exactly as it is. That isness, that's the I am. It's that primordial base substance, and you can always switch to that. You can always live from that, and you can transmute and open up your chakras extremely quickly. It doesn't need to be this long, prolonged process. You can transform your entire life in a period of days and weeks. Like, if you just live from this isness, and every movement of life, don't become frozen up, don't become locked up in anything, like, just stay as the isness, you will very quickly transmute massive elements of your life. You can transmute all the chakras, you can change everything. And yeah, that's a good thing to know. It's just, it's being that unconditionalness, that isness transmutes all. And also, again, when I talk about this flowing isness, this is the transcendent layer. So flowing isness doesn't mean that you're always moving. Sometimes you may flow into flowing isness of stillness, of of just sitting on the couch, of just being with your family, of just watching TV. Like, you can be the isness with every movement of life, because it's that transcendent level. Like, whether you're the movement or you're the stillness, the movement and the stillness is all made of isness, because isness is that primordial substance. It's that base level. That's the causal level. That's effortless and personal being. And that's the return to the Garden of Eden. That's where all the chakras get cleared out. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it. And as you do it, your life will just blossom. Enlightenment is the human. Nothing about enlightenment should make you less human or make you less capable of talking to people. Your entire life will flourish from this. Everything will bloom. Everything will take off. You can talk to anybody. You can be with anybody. You can be in any experience. You can be with worldly people. You can be with spiritual people. You can do anything. The more you integrate and flow from this isness, your energy will become so smooth and gliding and flexible, you will have no limitations. And that can happen very, very quickly, because there's no limits to your infinite nature. So, yeah, that is the message for today. Clearing out the chakras. That's how you do it.